Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. The question is, will society crash without a belief in God? It's based on a conversation that I had with a gentleman yesterday, as well as research of and living in different, more circular countries. And we're going to discuss that today, of course, and we're going to take about 5 minutes to let people get on. If you find me for the first time, we deconstruct religion and talk about other things as well, but primarily we deconstruct from Christianity on this channel. So we're going to give people a little bit of time to get on to the live. Let me turn that back on. Turn it on later. Next one. So as you come in, let me know who you are, where you at, what's going on with you as we go through our 5 minutes or so of allowing people to get on the live before we get started. Ran a little bit late today, had to run a couple of errands that had to be done this morning. But now we are here. We are here. Hopefully we have a very interesting conversation. Good debate. But we're going to have an interesting conversation. That's a guarantee. Grand Rising, Stephen, how you doing? So, Stephen, Baltimore, Maryland. So, your name on that said Anthony Pickett. So, I probably refer to you as Anthony. Because I'm pretty sure I probably forget the other part. Renwick, Grand Rising from Rome, Georgia. All right. Local guy. Got a local guy coming in from Rome. I'm in Stone Mountain. Yep, had an interesting time yesterday while I was in Covington with a gentleman who I was just sitting at a park bench, and he just decided he wanted to have a conversation with me. And so this is one of the subject matters to which we talked about. And I thought that it would be a good subject matter for us to discuss here on the channel today. Just setting some stuff up. There we go. I'm going to text real quick. Grand Rising Trauma. Charles, Grand Rising. Lawton, Oklahoma. Finishing up a cigar that I had in the car. Got my coffee ready. Gonna have this discussion. Got me a new hat. Gotta wear my new hat today. This is a cigar. Just to be clear, it's called a Toscano. It starts out looking like this. I don't want anybody reporting, oh, he's smoking the ganja. You've been on my channel long enough, you know that I used to own a cigar lounge. Had to run and take care of some things from the closing of that today. And we are moving forward in life. Moving forward in life, indeed. Oh, I gotta go pick up some cigars today. Matter of fact. I gotta run into Atlanta to pick up some cigars. Today we're going to talk about this basis of argument that many Christians like to use, especially on the Republican side. Shit, I forgot what I was saying. Sorry, a guest that I'm gonna have just text me, so I just wanted to respond to him. Not today. It's not a guest for today. It's gonna be a guest for another time frame. So we are going to discuss this subject matter. So let's get started. It's after 5 minutes. Let's get started. So I want to welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to Wildlife Religion with Coach Renz. I am your host, Coach Renz, Grand Rising Akiva. And today we're going to have a discussion, at least start out with a discussion, because after about 45 minutes to an hour, the subject matter seems to change. But we're going to start out with a discussion concerning secularism versus religious societies. And we know there was a Republican debate. I happened to see that scroll across my television screen, Grand Rising Debbie, last night. I did not watch it, but I had just recently done a video where a Republican was talking about he was pro-life, but yet he admitted that Grand Rising Sheila, that this guy kills babies. So his politics are more, he believes in his politics more than he believes in his deity. And we know during these election cycles, and we're getting ready to go into a major election cycle with an election next year, with the presidential election next year, many senators, congressmen, governors, all these sorts of things coming in next year. One of the things that will be thrown out consistently, especially those by the far right Republicans, not that I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I am neither, I'm an independent, but one of the things that will be thrown out there a lot is that we have to bring God back into our American society, and that is why America is failing right now, failing as people, failing as a country, is because God was taken out, is being taken out of American society. And we're actually going to take a sociological look into whether or not God being in a part of a society or God not being a part of society has anything to do with the prosperity of a country. This is something that I research, not for the sake of deconstructing Christianity or any other religion, but this is something that I constantly pay attention to because of future living situations, the places that I want to live, places I want to go. What is the climate there? What is it like? What are the living conditions? And when I say climate, I mean the environment, the status of living, the feel of the people, not the weather. Of course, we know I'm not going to any cold weather, but what is it about a country? Does religion has anything to do with the prosperity of a country, with the fairness of a country, with the governance of a country? Those are the things that those are some of the things that I research as far as my planning on where I'm going to live and retire. Now, many people in the alt-right, as well as the many Democrats, do believe that our country is dying, that America is dying, because religion has been taken out of the schools, prayer has been taken out of schools, the Ten Commandments have been taken out of schools, and monuments of the Ten Commandments have been taken out of courthouses and on public display, and that these are the things that are creating higher crime rates and higher immorality within the United States and unfairness within the United States, which is interesting because of the history of the United States. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about countries, a comparison between countries that are more secular and what it's like to live in those countries compared to those that are non-secular countries, that are more religious countries, and what it's like living in those countries. And what is the actual defining, what are the defining things that actually makes the countries prosper and which ones don't? Now, when we look at this, there is a difference between a country that has become secular or atheist because of a hard hand, because of ruthlessness. Those are not the type of countries that we're talking about. We're not talking about religious dictatorships in the extent of it being forced on people. although there will be a few, but they have come in, they are more of a democratic society, and they have displayed that they can coexist with their theocracy as well as the living conditions in that country. There are very few. But for the most part, we're going to look at countries that don't become the difference between a country that becomes secular because of an authoritative regime compared to those that become secular through a more democratic regime. Now, please keep your questions pertaining to the subject matter for at least the first hour or so before we start diverging into other conversations. And if all you have are insults or vague responses, they shall and will be ignored. If you're not contributing to the conversation, then there's no point in you contributing at all. Just sit back, listen, and maybe you'll learn something. So it's easy to point to a country like the USSR for those of us who are old enough to remember living through those types of situations and hearing about them. USSR, when China was the Mao, I think it was Mao, who was a severe Chinese communism, those types of countries where it was a dictatorship that came in with a very, very heavy hand and crushed the people's soul. Thank you. I like my pink shirt. That's a whole nother video that's coming later on today about my pink shirt. That's why I got on my hat with the pink inlays. But Angelina, you already know what that's about. My initial thought, I will bet it is. My initial thought, I will bet it is. Else you will have each individual as a god, and chaos tends to pursue. Collective thought, prudence more than individual thoughts. Note, using the term God as authority, not deity. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that statement. My initial thought, it will be, it is. It will be, it is. I'm guessing you're assuming that society will collapse without the belief in a deity, without belief in a God. Well, we're gonna delve into those kinds of things. Men look good in pink. We're gonna y'all trying to distract me. Y'all trying to distract me. So when we look at how the world is right now, and when we compare countries that are geared towards religion as the main point of why their society is either growing or collapsing, we find that there is actually zero correlation between religion and the belief in God and the prosperity of a country. We can easily take the route of looking at a country like the United States, where we have proponents out there yelling and screaming that pro-life, God is pro-life. Yet we see in the Bible that this deity is far from being pro-life, and that shootings in school happens because God has been taken out of the school, that kids aren't praying in school anymore, which is actually a lie. Kids do have the ability to pray in school. It's just that the school itself cannot mandate prayer in school, meaning the school can't force the kids to pray before a game, pray before class, or anything of that nature. But if an individual child desires to pray in school, then that individual child can pray in school. If a group of them decide they wanted to pray in school, they can pray in school. So school prayer has not been taken out of the school. It is just that some of these people are desiring to force prayer in school. And then with America being such a diverse community, so you want to force the Islamic kid to pray to a Christian God in school, force the Hindu kid to pray to a Christian God in school. That is what's been taken out of the school system. That does not allow for those types of things to happen. You cannot have the 10 Commandments in a school without having the 42 confessions of Ma'at, without having, I don't know if the Islam has a commandment list. I know they are of the Abrahamic religion, so the 10 commandments would possibly fall within their purview. But most likely, well, they still have a respect for Moses, so it might fall within their purview. But without having other religions also posted, it is forcing one religion onto the people that the people may not necessarily believe in. Those are the things that have been taken out. Those are the things that are not appropriate to have in school, since we are supposed to have a separation of church and state. But when we look at the current situation in America, what we see that America has the highest concentration of people in jails and prisons than any other country in the world. And things of that nature is one of the reasons why people are saying that we have taken God out of America, and that is why the crime rate is so high in America. But when we look at America from its inception, what we see is a country that started out as colonies that were highly religious. These highly religious people also instituted slavery in America. They genocided the indigenous people. They conquered and stole territory from the indigenous people. They subjugated women. They subjugated non-Anglo-Saxon white males who didn't own land as well for a while. And that this country, when it was heavily doused in Christianity, subjugated more people and was more unfair than what we are, and than the situation that we're in today. I'm not saying things are not great in America. They never have been for the majority of the people. But what we do know is that America is actually better today for the majority of the people than it was for the majority of the people, 200, 300, 400 years ago. Can't tell you my secrets, Junior, where to get my hats. Actually, this one was a gift, so I definitely can't tell you where this one comes from. Have you not seen the world? Religion has caused more chaos, bloodshed, and war. I agree with you 100%, Valen. Between religion and resources, those are the primary reasons why we've had the most war and bloodshed in this world. So when we look at these different, this country, America is the primary one that we're looking at. We see that religion actually doesn't correlate to the issues that are in America. They will say that there's more gun violence because of the loss of religion. They will say that there is more drug crime because of the loss of religion. Anything that is negative that's occurring in America, you have those politicians, those people who support these politicians that are saying that religion is the reason why these things are happening. But religion is also the reason why America was such a terrible country to the majority of the population throughout its history. Whether you're looking at it from how women were treated, how indigenous people were treated, how people of color were treated, how non-land owning white Anglo-Saxon males in its inception was treated. America has never been a country of fairness, and it was heavily religified. But it is with that lessening of religion that America has actually gotten better and becoming more of a humanist style country. Anytime somebody points to a country and say that, without religion, societies will collapse. Countries such as Norway, countries such as England, Great Britain in its entirety, which will be Ireland and Scotland as well, Wales, Australia, New Zealand, Uruguay. These countries are very prosperous countries with some of the lowest crime rates in the world. Why didn't they? And they are some of those countries also, based on their statistics, report that more than half of the population are either atheist or agnostic. meaning that they either do not believe that there is a God that exists and don't have enough, well, they don't have enough proof that there is a God that exists, so they don't believe that there's a God that exists, or they're agnostics in their thought process that there could possibly be a God, but there is not enough evidence to prove that there is a God. So more than 50% of the population in those countries believe that, but in those countries, they have some of the lowest crime rates, some of the lowest drug abuse, some of the lowest hate crime statistics than countries that have a high religious belief. Countries like Colombia, like Brazil, like America. They have some of the highest crime rates, some of the worst laws that are based on ethnicity, race, gender, and things of that nature. But yet we have these people screaming that without God, societies collapse. Because the line is such: if you take God out the picture, then the people will fall into lawlessness. That the people without religion won't believe in morality. Whereas when you look at these countries, they have a higher moral standard than what we have in America. I've told you guys many times before, when I lived in Germany in the 90s, I literally forgot what it was like to feel racism, because in America, I felt it on a daily basis. But when I got to Germany, I rarely, if ever, felt any racism whatsoever. So their argument is invalid. I didn't have it. The biggest problem I had in France was not attempting to speak the language, but trying to, when I saw, well, I didn't do this, but I saw other people do it when they try to force the French people in France to do things in the same way that we do things in America. And they were like, you're in France. I saw this same thing in Germany. I saw this in Italy. I saw this in Spain. But those countries are prospering and the people are not religious. How can you explain that? I challenge anyone to explain why their societies are not collapsing as they are moving away from religion, have moved away from religion. And as America is moving away from religion, this is the fight that we're going through. Those who are religious trying to hold on to the idea that you have to have this deity in order for society to function properly. When we know this deity has done more dirt and has more laws and rules and commandments that creates a negative environment than that creates a positive environment. I don't want to miss too many of you guys' questions. I know I be talking, I talk and I get too far behind. The Constitution is the religion of the nation of America, and the people are the nation's gods. We just use different terms like state in the place of God. I understand what you're saying, but many people will say that America is based on that the American Constitution and the laws in America were based on Christian ideology. And to a certain extent, you can say that if you start at a point of Christianity. You can also say that you can also use the Code of Hammurabi, the 42 Laws of Ma'at, and say that America is a country, a constitution. The Constitution was based on the Hammurabi Code, or so that will mean America is a Babylonian state. Or you can say that it was on the 42 Confessions of Ma'at, which means that America is a Kemetic state. Those things are interchangeable because morality began long before a Bible was ever written, long before Yahweh became a deity in the Canaanite religion, and El became a deity in the Sumerian religion. There was already a sense of morality amongst people in communities. So therefore, morality is not based on religion, but morality is based on having a stable country, a stable civilization. Whether there is a belief in God or not, it is a crime in Norway, in the Norwegian countries, to murder someone. It is a crime to steal. It is a crime to abduct. It is a crime to accost someone. They are less religious than America, but yet they still have these moral laws, and these moral laws are punished. But for some strange reason, their society don't have to deal with as much of that. So what creates a prosperous society? Is it the religion and the belief in the religion, or is it the laws that are put in place by the governing bodies, the leadership that is deciding what laws will be there and what laws will not, the people who adhere to it, or the people who ask and cause or demand a change in it? Now we can always, for when a Christian does point to these certain things, one of the things you can point to and say, okay, well, if Christianity is the basis of having a great society, then how is it that the crime rate is incredibly low in Dubai and they are a theocracy? They are a theocracy based on Islam. Yet they have, it's one of the safest places to be in the world. Now they do have some laws that are intense. You cannot protest against Allah, speak ill of Allah. You cannot try to convert an Islamic person to Christianity or any other religion. You cannot put your religious symbols on your buildings that are not Islamic. They have harsher punishments for crimes, but yet they're an incredibly prosperous and safe country to be in. Is it because of their belief in Allah, or is it because of their oil and the way that their leadership distributes the funds from that oil? Right? Which is it? It crashes with more than 2/3 of the global population believing in a loving God. Something is wrong with that picture. It's now work time to try something. It's now, I think it's now time to try something else. I would agree whatsoever with that, if I'm understanding you correctly, because when we look at countries like Australia, New Zealand, they're peaceful, prosperous countries. Every country has issues, but when you compare them to the rest of the world, peaceful, prosperous countries, yet the majority of their people do not believe in a deity or worship a deity. Maybe they're on the right track. Maybe we need to pay attention to our gun laws, pay attention to our prisons, pay attention to our economics, pay attention to our infrastructure, and making things fair for people to have an opportunity to grow. And religion won't have anything God doesn't have anything to do with that. So if I was president of a country, now if I was just president of America, and I actually did FDR's deal in saying that every American will have the opportunity to buy a house. These are the requirements. There's no redlining. No matter what neighborhood the house is in, the government will support that loan for a person to buy that house, as long as they qualify these other qualifications. And as long as the person meets those qualifications, and those qualifications are fair, they have to have their regulations of safety. You can't just let someone who doesn't make enough money buy a house. You can't just let someone who hasn't demonstrated that they can pay bills buy a house. But you don't set it where, but if you live in this neighborhood, you cannot buy a home in this neighborhood. That's called redlining. Although supposedly outlawed, we know it's still very prevalent in today's world, in America. So if you make that situation and more Americans are able to purchase their homes, then more Americans will be in a position to be prosperous for the next generation and the next and the next and the next and so on and so forth. But when you inhibit your population, you create more poverty. When you create more poverty, you create more crime. I was looking at one statistical map that demonstrated, let me see if I can pull it up, that demonstrated how if a country, in the different states, in America, when they, how do I bring this up? Shit. When they switched their government, I lost my train of thought. Oh, that the more impoverished an area is in America, the more impoverished areas in America are also the most religious areas in America. For instance, I live in Georgia. Georgia is one of the more Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi are three of the most religious states in the United States. But they also have the highest poverty rates of the other states in America. Right behind that, or right in that category, you can throw West Virginia in there, North and South Carolina, Tennessee. They are incredibly more religious than most other states, and yet they have some of the highest poverty rates and some of the highest crime rates. The only reason some of these other states are up there is because of the large cities like Chicago, New York. But even in those cities, people are very religious, yet they have high crime rates. When you look out into the Midwest and now on the West Coast, where people are less religious, their crime rates are lower. Their drug issues are lower. Their hate crimes are lower. What does God have to do with it? It seems like God is actually the instigator, that religion is the instigator of these things. These folks would rather see the country burn before accepting its move away from religion. And they would, because they believe that, well, I was watching this video, this woman said that, and she was talking about how, and I'm probably going to post the video. And she was saying that when, families used to have dinner together, and she was saying that had something to do with religion. You can have dinner with your family. That's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with religion. When I was in the house with my kids, we had dinner, they're grown, but when they were small, they had dinner, we had dinner together. Had absolutely nothing to do with religion, had more to do with family. Yeah. She was saying that school shootings are up because there's no 10 Commandments in the schools. The kids aren't praying before class. Has absolutely nothing to do with it. It has more to do with parenting and how we've had major shifts in parenting over the last 30 to 40 years. Instead of parents raising children as parent to child, we started raising children as friends. And therefore the child, with their immaturity, doesn't have that respect of parents. You have parents who allow for their children to bully other children. You have parents that don't teach children how to conflict resolution. So therefore, you don't get it. We had conflict resolution. I remember me and this guy named William, we were friends. We got into a fight, but it was just a fist fight. And the next day we were still friends. These kids today, they were raised the conflict resolutions to shoot someone. That you don't talk, you don't figure things out. No, sir, I really think it's a war between individual freedom and socialism and total government control. And most people think that non-religious situations bring about socialism. Socialism has actually nothing to do with religion, now governments try to use religion to control you, but those are more of policy things, more so than dealing with religions. Tommy said that, good morning, my brother. So secular nations have very low crime rates, now low poverty, and European socialism plays a role in several countries. And yes, it does. In America, we have this issue where we are offended by the idea of socialism, not even realizing that America is a socialist capitalism. Especially more so today. We have more rules and laws governing how the society functions than there were 200-300 years ago. 300 years ago, you either grow your food, make some money to buy your food, or you starve. Now we're taking taxes out of people's, taking so much taxes from people in order to feed other people. We are state funding schools and federally funding schools, whereas in the past you just had to pay for your schooling, right? We have more social programs. We have just as many social programs as we have capitalist programs. And it's not all bad. It's not all a bad thing. So we have the highest porn rates. Yep. War between the so-called elites and the rest of us. Like Josh Carlin is a big club and we ain't. It's a big club and we ain't in it. And even in your socialist countries and even in your non-religious country, you still have economic elites that are deciding which direction the country is going to go in. Paul says teen pregnancy is actually a high thing in this religious country. Oftentimes, when you put major restrictions on people, as they grow up, they begin to break away from it and do exactly the opposite. So you grew up in the Midwest during the 60s and the 70s, there was no praying in schools there. Right. So growing up in the 70s and 80s, we still had prayer in school. Like they come over the thing, over the PA system. You would have your national anthem. You stand up, say the Pledge of Allegiance, play the national anthem, and then somebody would pray, over the loudspeakers. It's Fabian socialism. I don't know who Fabian is, so I wouldn't be able to respond to that. So yes, our fire brigade and police force is socialism. That is part of socialism, but it's a part of society that is better for us to have than not to have. When the townspeople were responsible for putting out a fire and would form a fire brigade, or you hired a sheriff and he would deputize however many people that they needed at any given moment. And each town or city governed their police forces in that way. Now we have a systemized police and fire system that is paid by the government, paid for by the government, and subsidized by the government. Is that they're criminals in control of everything? Mm-hmm. Right, and abortion has nothing to do with religion, but I agree with Paul. It has more to do with education, right? In America, we have this thing where we want to abstain from teaching about sex and sexuality in schools. I do remember we had sex ed in, what was that, like 7th, 8th grade back in the 80s. But those things were taken out. And so a lot of these kids don't know or are never taught the consequences of their actions. Parents have long been afraid to talk to their children about sex. And so the kids go through life learning about sex on the street, peer pressure from their friends, instead of them understanding what this is and what can happen when it due to it, within it, what can happen if you do it. I was that parent that would teach my children age appropriately about sex and their bodies as they were growing up, because I wanted to make sure they understood the consequences of their actions. So you texting in tongues, Brian? Society don't believe in God, and individuals do. If society believed in God, we would have very few people we treat just like God has, which isn't always great. But society don't believe in God. Individuals do. Yes and no. Individuals believe in God, and those individuals believing in a God as a group create mind share that dictates laws and society, right? Like when we went to Desert Storm, it was heavily promoted through the military ranks that God was on our side. And since the majority of the people were Christian, they were believing that the Christian God was on our side to go into Kuwait and Iraq during the first Desert Storm, um, during the Iraqi War. Uh, that has been something that society has utilized over and over again. That is what this Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that this God is instructing the Israelites or the Hebrews when to go to war and who to conquer and how they should do it, who all they should kill and who all they should keep for themselves. So societies can believe in God in the thought process of mind share, right? So yeah, you have it as an individual, but then when the whole other, remember, people are sheep. For the most part, they're sheep. If the majority of people are doing something, believing in something, it's a natural tendency for the rest of the people to just get in line. We've seen that countless times throughout history, throughout the recorded history of man. The overwhelming majority of people in Germany weren't part of the Nazi party, but they followed along suit. The majority of people in the USSR weren't part of the Communist Party, but they followed suit. You know, they follow, and you can have a small group initiate something, and the majority of people begin to follow it. The same thing with the Revolutionary War, the same thing with the Civil War, the same thing with almost every war. It is a few that sparks the war, and then the majority just follows along. And that same mindset goes with religion as well. Named after Quintus Fabius Maximus Varicosus. That's a long ass name. Keep moving. Roman general invented divide and conquer tactics. I can't say he invented divide and conquer tactics because Sun Tzu in the Art of War already had that going on. So maybe in the West. Fabian Society formed in the late 1800s in England and a political think tank. Their symbol used to be the wolf in sheep's clothing. They're the ones that started the ball rolling to get to where we are now. Socialism, which is really communism in slow, gradually steps so that population doesn't notice, just as Venezuela, what they think of socialism. Now, I do think that there are shades of gray between from capitalism to socialism, then from socialism to communism. But I don't think there's a natural progression to move from one to the other. The South has the highest and most dangerous crime rates in the United States. The Bible Belt pours in the most dangerous people. People with money believe in God. People with money believe in God with hopes of keeping it and getting more. The poor believe in God in hopes of getting some. I give you some credit on that one because you're actually right. Poverty is what creates crime. Religion has actually very little bearing on crime. The overwhelming majority of people in the American prison system claim to be Christian, and then second to that, they claim to be Muslim. And I'm saying they claim that on their way in. Now some get in, they become devout, they change their life, and they come out. Some of them switch up while they're in there. But most of them go in believing in a religion, believe in the religion while they're in, get out believing in that religion, and go right back in. Because our judicial system continues to punish a person who ever goes and serves time instead of a system that expunges their record for paying their penance so that they can become productive members of society and make better ways for them to be able to make money and get out of poverty so that they will not commit crimes, have less of a desire to commit crime. Each one do this belief lie? Do this before life, God, life beguns So when it's time to stand, the children won't run. I'm just not getting that. Just not clicking in my head. I know it rhymes, but it's just not. Do this before life begins. So when it's time to stand, the children won't run. You saying get some guns? I'm not sure. America, we are the strongest nation on earth, but the biggest hypocrites. We were still fighting for what MLK came for. I don't blame white people as much as I blame the principalities that are in dark places. Whether you believe in God or not, God is about love, and His will is going to be done, because the real test is whoever created you wants to know that you can trust you after seeing the life you live. God will be done. No, if God's will is being done, because God's will is slavery, God's will is subjugation, God's will is genocide, God's will is separation. The God of this Bible, to which I'm believing that you're proclaiming, His will is all the things that America has done in its past and is still doing. This God is not a God of love. If He was a God of love, then He wouldn't be taking people's firstborn. If He was a God of love, He wouldn't genocide entire towns. If this was a God of love, He wouldn't come and send His people to take land from other people who were living there peacefully. Rome was before Sun Tzu. I could be wrong. Okay, I'll look at. Hold on, you sure? When was the Art of War written? Between 475 to 221 BCE. That's before Rome. Rome doesn't get into its height until what, like 150 BCE? Sun Tzu is before that. I thought it was something, yeah. Ah! Now what? No, I just went. Now, I think that we would thrive, this country would thrive more without this Bible God. This Bible God encourages separation and superiorities. Your father in Vietnam, he told me there are atheists in the foxhole. What does he mean by that exactly? I kind of wonder what it was like when our military reached the Tigris and Euphrates when you guys were there. It was just a river. I mean, I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is something, because I was still, 20, 19 years old, actually, 1920. I was like, oh shit, this is something that was spoken about in the Bible that I had learned. But there was just ooh, there it is for real. What religion caused World War II? The part that of the religion that caused World War II was the fact that Adolf Hitler and the group that he had joined, the Nazis, they were blaming the Jewish people for the suffering that was going on in Germany, and believed that they needed to exterminate them, that was God's will to exterminate them. And so if you look at when World War II was the lead up to World War II, it was a combination of, yes, resources, but the push to get the people involved was the scapegoating of the Jewish people in Germany as far as the hardships that Germany was enduring. So it was an extreme Christian cultish viewpoint against the Jewish people in Germany that gave the Nazi Party most of its power. And then from there, it was about regaining the Prussian Empire, or I think it's called the Prussian Empire, but regaining the Prussian Empire and resources. But religion played a big part of starting that. And then God has always, then the Allies believe that their version of the Christian God was the one that will upend the Nazis' version of the Christian God. Socialism doesn't lead to communism. Socialist policies are helpful to the state. I agree with you on that one. Communism is the purest form, isn't evil. In its purest form, isn't evil. Exactly, in its purest form. But in order to have pure communism, you have to get rid of greed. Even when Marx and Engels wrote that, they expressed that to get rid of greed is the only way that pure communism can ever work. But the ideology of the people in charge of any governmental system is the primary reason why you're going to have things either going up or going down. Why you're going to have fairness and unfairness. It doesn't matter what title you give or what function of government, of how the government functions. It's the people. People can't see how evil this God is because they're taught that this is a God of love. When this God displayed, even in the midst of displaying all this evil, they find justifications for that evil. First time in my life I'm at a crossroad with a stupid flag. I have not stood for it since 1973. Now I'm helping veterans, and in these meetings they do the pledge. I will not say it, but having problems even standing up. Yeah, if I was a veteran in there, I don't stand up. I don't stand up. I don't say it. I refuse to. And I was doing that. I've been doing that ever since I got out of the Marine Corps. Oh, it means that everyone was praying to a God in a foxhole. Oh, so there's no atheists in the foxhole. I don't know. I can't necessarily 100% agree with that. The Abraham religion, Judaism, Christianism are some of the worst things that's ever happened to humanity. Certainly is, especially in our most modern history. Right? There are atheists in foxholes because they're just concerned about their survival. They're not thinking about some God. And if there really was a God, why are we in this war? Why are we fighting? But when you have deities that promote war, you're going to have war. People say everyone is religious in a war setting. We're not. So, I understand and completely comprehend exactly what it means. Kids don't. That's why they push it down their throats as children in schools are away from their parents, who actually realize how dangerous it is. And it's actually something that is very connected to the how the Germans utilize nationalism to galvanize their people. Is one of the big reasons why America started doing the same thing. A lot of people don't realize that America envied many of the tropes of Nazi Germany and wanted to rule their people in a similar way. So pushing the national anthem, pushing nationalism became something much larger in America after World War II, because it's like one of those things. I'm gonna chew the meat and spit out the bone to a certain degree. There was still a lot of bone in that American chew. Right, justifying the cruelty of God help people justify the cruelty of humans. They do. And then somebody said something earlier about how rich people believe in God. Actually, the overwhelming majority of people who are prosperous in most America is not as much, but in these non-secular countries, they do not give their gift of the fact that they are prosperous to some deity. You'll have an American person who is religious who will say that I got all of this wealth because of God. Because if you actually study this book, and I was planning to do a separate video about this later on, but when you look at the thought of the people in the Bible, they believe that if you were wealthy, that means that you were more righteous, right? So that was the mindset of Jewish people before the first century, and during the first and in the first and second century. You're wealthy because you're more righteous, because and that's what God bless you. I mean, that's pretty much the whole story of Job. You know, the whole thing was Satan's issue was that the only reason Job is a righteous man is because you've given him so much. I agree with you, Coach. America is always one of his own master. Yeah. Yeah. America is very much the mentality of the Nazi regime did not leave. It came with America. Yeah, but see, it actually doesn't say that rich people can't get into heaven. It just says it's difficult for a rich person to get into heaven. They have to not be in love with their earthly things. And see, you're messing up my video. I'm gonna do about this later. When you look at what the disciples said right after that, they said that if he can't get in, then what hope is there for us? And then Jesus says something to the effect that anything is possible with God. So is because they related wealth to being righteous. So they were thinking like, damn, rich people always get into heaven. But he was just saying that, no, you can't love your stuff more than you love this deity. Right? But rich people can get into heaven. It's just that's been used to make poor people feel better. So the Prime Minister of Israel said that there is a time for war, because that's what it says in Ecclesiastes. There's a time for peace, there's a time for war. And in true consciousness, there's never a time for war. There's a time for self-defense, but there's never a time to attack someone, right? Just attacking them for whatever your justification is. And if you take away people attacking, then there will be no reason to defend yourself. Therefore, there will be no war. Operation Paperclip. I remember that. I can't remember exactly what that is. Is that the infiltration one? I can't remember Operation Paperclip exactly. I know it, but I need a spark. What is your threat level with the Caucasian Christian nationalism? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that their threat is about a 6. They don't have the numbers. More and more people are walking away from them as well as religion. So as each generation, as these younger generation is coming up, there's going to be less and less of those people who are involved with that organization. They're just very loud. They're very, very loud. But the people who are opposing them are becoming louder and louder as well. Oh, whoa, that's right. When they were bringing all the Nazis over, or was that Operation High Jump? I remember. I know the names of these. I just can't remember each one of them. But I know there was an operation to bring a bunch of Nazis over and them leaving and going and becoming part of America and all that sort of thing. And they try to just show you some of the good ones, but a lot of the bad ones came too. Christian Zionists who were around long before the Jewish Zionists helped create our modern education system. It was developed to ensure that young minds would always support the state and regard the state higher in priority than that of their own lives. Yeah. And even your JFK, in his statement, ask not what you can do for your country, but that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit. The country need to do for me first before I do anything for this country. I need this country to take care of business, to make things better and fair before I go over there. See how y'all already got me way off subject? But we're still kind of in the subject. Right, when we brought all the high jump was Richie. Yeah, there you go. High jump was Bird. But in truth, Bird didn't go to Antarctica. I thought he did. I used to think that he did, but he actually went to the Arctic. He didn't go to Antarctica. There is no journal. He didn't fly a plane, and then all of a sudden the controls got taken over, and he went to some secret cavern. Those were things that were created. Oh, JFK was corrupt. JFK just had the understanding that Malcolm X had, that America was sitting on a powder keg, that if it continued in its current structure, that America would be thrown into a rebellious situation again, because Black people were hitting a point in the 60s where they was tired of this bullshit. This Jim Crow stuff is bullshit. And Jim Crow wasn't just in the South. Jim Crow was living very well across the entirety of the United States. It might have been more apparent in the South, but it was everywhere. If you lived up north, you had to deal with the similar situations as well, or out west. To your topic, every human being, beings we know, was created by human beings. So let's stop everybody's fake out. We want to create and treat God like God is God. Look in the mirror. I'm with you, Brett. If you want to see God, look in the mirror. Look inside yourself. That's where you're going to see it, because it's within you. It is not outside of you. Yeah, it is not some deity that you need to give some type of reverence or prayer to. It is you. The voice in your head is you. It's not deity. It's you. And many people around the world are realizing this, and therefore their societies are changing and have changed because of it. It's not a quick thing. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that has it's a slower process as each generation begins to look around and say, how can we have a better society? What's fair and what's unfair? And let's fix it. Instead of the fix is we got to give prayers and have monuments. The guy being hanged and the guy doing the hanging are both praying, right? Praying to the same deity. The judge is sitting up there in their robe, unfairly punishing somebody else, and they're both praying to the same God, believing in the same God. There's a problem in that judicial system. There's a problem in our economic system. There's a problem in our, crime, in our housing system. There's a problem in our corporate system. Those things cannot be solved by prayer. Those things are solved by instituting the correct regulations and laws that allow for social situations that allow for people to have an opportunity. And that's it. That's all the government needs to do. Provide safety and an opportunity. But praying does nothing towards that. A kid in the projects, or a poor kid in a trailer park, or a poor kid anywhere can pray all day. But if mom and daddy can't put no food on the table, what good is that prayer? And if they're not putting food on the table because they're not getting paid for what they do, they are being harassed, they are put in a situation where they can't buy a home, and you got to think about it. And this is one of the things that I don't understand people's logic, right? So when I came back to America from Germany, Sure, you look around and there were people who were renting houses for $1,000, for $1,200, $1,400, $1,500. But I could buy a house and my mortgage is $700. What sense does it make to rent? But the way our system is set up, as far as a house, it's easier for you to rent a space than it is for you to buy a space. That makes no sense whatsoever. It should be opposite. And then when people buy, they tend to care more about the house, care more about the neighborhood, care more about the schools, care more about the politicians who are making rules, care more about zoning. They care more about their community. And when the more people care about the community gets better. It gets better. It's really that simple. Say it louder. And I used to, when I was a Christian, I used to, oh God, please let me have an opportunity. But here's the difference between a Christian who's well off and a Christian who's poor. A Christian who's well off, they both pray. So let me put it like this. They both pray, but then one gets up and does some shit about it while the other one continues to just pray. So which one is going to win? The one who gets off their ass and do something about it. The gentleman that I was having this conversation with yesterday, I should have asked him if I can record it because a little part of it, he got cussed out a little bit. He got a little cussing going, my version of cussing him out. Because he starts talking about how he's this great cook and people all they got to do is have a taste of his food and they just going to be coming from everywhere. Right. And he was talking about, I'm just, I know God one day going to give me give me the restaurant and all that kind of stuff. And I told him, God didn't give you shit. God didn't give you a goddamn thing. And you can have the best food in the world that nobody knows about. If you don't know how to market, if you're not saving money to be able to open up your restaurant, if you're not doing things right now, you could be selling plates at your house. Well, first you can be doing cooking demonstrations. Then from the cooking demonstration, you can sell plates at your house. Then from selling plates, you can start doing catering. And then from selling plates and catering, you save all your money. Then you can open up your restaurant. But then you got to have systems in place to make sure your restaurant is prosperous. And he was like, yeah, I'm just waiting because I want to make sure that I don't lose no money. I said, there's no such thing as opening a business without the risk of losing money. And I'm like, that's dumb. And I told him, I said, that's dumb. I said, that's poor people thinking. Scared money don't make money. And I told him, you've been sitting here, how long you been a great cook according to you? He's like, oh man, since I was like in my 20s, and this dude was like almost 60. And I'm like, so you've been sitting on your ass waiting for your God to deliver you a restaurant when millions of people have open restaurants. You'll never get one. And I told him straight up, you will never get a restaurant because you too busy sitting on your ass not doing nothing. And I was talking to him just like that. You sitting on your ass not doing it. When it comes to business conversation, and especially if you're a dude, and then especially if you're a black dude, oh, I'm coming at you raw and hard because you got to be tough to do it. You don't have you got roadblocks. So I want to hear your whiny bullshit. And I did tell him that part. I said, look, man, I got to go and handle my business, 206. I said, they open now. I can't deal with your whiny bullshit no more. Yeah. And they even say that. I've heard many Christians say prayer without works is pointless or useless. But yet all they do is keep praying. All right, Kip. So what you're saying, you'd rather live in a religious society than a degenerate secular society. The key thing is that you're saying a degenerate secular society. Norway is a secular society. but is more prosperous and safer than most religious societies. Great Britain, secular, more prosperous, safer. Germany, France, New Zealand, Australia, Uruguay. Your statement makes, the only reason your statement can make any sense is because you put in there degenerate secular society. Of course, you can have a degenerate religious society. Can you not? I would love for you to answer that question. Right, Mary. Circular is not synonymous with degenerate, but that's how they have to phrase it in order for it to fit their paradigm. They have to say that it's degenerate when there are multiple, the majority of circular societies are not degenerate societies. I bet you she can't name 5. I bet you Kip, I don't know if Kip's a guy or girl, but I bet you they can't name 5. Buenos Todos. What is that? Portuguese? Nikki? Oh no, Buenos Todos. So there's, I was about to say Guten Morgen, which is German. Guten Morgen. Buenos Dias. Buenos Nachos. What's Buenos Todos? I don't know that one. It's been confirmed Bobby Hemmett. I thought I saw something about him passing away. Back in the 50s and 70s, buy a house and have brick and stone as foundation. After the 80s, wood paper for 10 times the cost, and buying is still cheaper. Yeah. But here's the other thing about buying a house. Too many people without the amount of money, if they don't have continuous income coming in, get into their 40s and 50s and they want to buy a new house. Back in the day, people used to buy a house and they stay in that house and die in that house. Buenos tardes. Right. Okay. I know it's Spanish. Is that good afternoon? But muy bien. Arafat was circular. Hamas called him a degenerate to Islam, and because he was dragged through the streets like dirty laundry and killed by those who were trying to help. He was trying to help save. Now, that's why in the beginning I said, now, if it was a totalitarian regime that was going secular, that's one thing. Stalin, Lenin, that's different. You still have totalitarianism going on. But you can claim the same thing for the Holy Roman Empire, totalitarian religious regimes, the United States in its formation. You know, these were France when it was under its monarchy was a totalitarian religious regime. And yes, it's cheaper. Many people in my family and beyond can't afford the rent they are being charged. I don't know. I don't have that issue as an owner. I can live there. And here's the trick in renting. Most of the time, every year they raise your rent. So you come in at a rent that you can afford. Then they keep raising your rent, but your pay doesn't increase, right? To match that rent. So at some point, you then say, let me move to another place, and you find a place that got that lower rent that you can't afford again. And then it stacks, and then you move, and stacks, and then you move. And that's the cycle that you keep going through. right? Instead of saying, let me find a place that I can rent and at the same time work on my credit if it needs it and save a down payment so that when this rent elevates too high, I can go and buy a house. Guten Morgen. I should know that Buenos Tardes means good afternoon because it was on my Spanish lesson a few months ago, and I should know that. Why these island people? Well, it's a nice weather today, so I'm not mad at my island people today because we got pretty nice weather here in Atlanta. Oh, I can afford to live there. Yeah. Yeah, it is a form of modern day slavery, and it's modern day economic slavery to keep people indebted. Ever since especially after we went off the gold standard, going off the gold standard was something that caused people to say, to get into debt, and that debt keeps you a slave to the system, and you can never escape it unless you decide to escape it. Right? You have to start. You have to think long term. Most people don't think long term. I see people getting mad at immigrants who come here and then they have a business, or and they're running like a prosperous business. But you don't know their story. You don't know how long they saved to get here, and then once they got here, you don't know how long they saved or the living conditions they was willing to put up with in order to open that business. If you learn most of their story, most of them live a life that most Americans wouldn't even consider living. Right? I'm gonna ask y'all a question. How many of y'all would be willing to get together, move into a house together, 2 families, 3 families, and y'all live in that house so that y'all can save money and start a business, or save money so that everybody can then within like 3 years have that $30,000-$40,000 to put a down payment on a house that you can afford? How many are willing to do something like that? Tommy, are you saying that you left religion for a relationship with Jesus, or are you saying you left fellowship with the body? I left the entire religion, concepts of the religion, period. There is no Jesus. Jesus never existed as the Bible describes Jesus. And the church is a farce. The church in itself is a farce because what is supposed to be the foundation of the church is a farce. And what's supposed to be the foundation of Christianity, which is Judaism, is a farce as well. So, no, I left the whole thing because it's illogical, it's cruel, and it's fake. All right, people saying their families did it, grandparents did it. Lumi, I knew you was gonna say it. I knew you were gonna say that y'all did, because the reason why the Latin community is outpacing the Black community is because one of the main reasons, because economically they're willing to do that. They're willing to do that. Like my oldest daughter finally got it right in her head. But I wanted to like right upside her head because she wasn't understanding. She understood. She just refused to do it. Said to me, okay, you don't get some roommates? That's fine. But get a place where you know that you can afford everything by yourself. That way you're able to save with the roommates and then buy your own house. But wouldn't listen. She finally started listening, but she had to get popped in the head a couple times, but with economics in order for her to get it. And so now she's realizing that. Yeah. And now one of the reasons why a lot of immigrants work together to prosper is because if you look at their living conditions and where they came from compared to the living conditions that they have, here, like, so like my house has, and this is nothing to be arrogant about. Like the house that I have right now has 3 levels, right? People will be like, oh, this house ain't big enough to have 3 families in it. As we be cramped up and all this kind of stuff. But you talking about people who had 3 families in a house that's not even a third of the size of this house. So when they get here and they have a house that's half the size of this house, 3 families, they got plenty of space. They like, this is great. So their perception, their perspective is totally different. So we can't compare. When you compare it, it's a different mindset. I've had people talk about, oh yeah, we're gonna all get together, but then they go get this big ass house, that's like 8,000 square feet. Like, no, go and get you that 3,000 square feet. And you have 3 families living in that joint. And y'all do that for a couple of years and get your shit together. Well, okay, Christian, you said you would, but you would have to have like-minded people for it to work. So what you do is you find like-minded people. That's the other thing that we won't do. Let's say, oh, I do it, but you got to have like-minded people. So you put a roadblock, you create your own mental roadblock right there. Like I can look at some of my family members and I know which ones wouldn't work with, and I know which ones it would. But the thing is, you just find them. It's funny how Christian folks do all they can to rescue people from the cult of Mormonism or Islam and send missionaries to foreign countries to convert them into similar cults of Christianity. Yeah, they'll spend all their time and money doing that, but they won't help the people in their own backyard. They won't help the people in their own church. Prove that it's true, Tommy. Prove it. If you want people to come to you the truth, then you have to be able to prove that is the truth, because what we have done is prove that it's not. So you would have to overcome our proof. So prove it. Statements like that does absolutely nothing. It doesn't even add to the comments. It doesn't even add to the conversation. And yes, please don't pray for any. Most of us would prefer, out of respect, for you to not pray for us. Don't want that kind of energy. Yeah. Sometimes, I just don't get why a Christian comes in here and see that it's an intellectual conversation, but yet provide no intellect. And that's not a knock on you as a person. It's the techniques that y'all constantly and consistently use. But yes, Dwayne, the people in Asia, like when I've talked to some of the people who own like Asian businesses near where I was at, or Brazilian businesses, let's see, I've dealt with Asian, Brazilians, Indians, and Latins, and Africans, and many of them have the exact same story. They saved and saved at home, in their home country. They finally got here. Then they worked their ass off and all lived together, and then start building. Mm-hmm. But how many of us are willing to do this, to do that? How many? That's the question. Now, as much as I've said I'm a big proponent of polygamy, I'm also a big proponent of people doing that. Of people saying that, all right, you know what? You got plenty of space. Let's bring in some people, some roommates. I mean, I know we all like our privacy. I like my privacy. But if I was in a negative income situation, fuck that privacy. Privacy can go somewhere. I'll be like, look at him. Do what we got to do to make this work. There's been times where I've lived with family members in order to get things squared away, in order to reopen a business. I lived with family members, and even after I moved, I got the business over. I lived at the business. I lived in my popcorn shop for 6 years, and there were plenty of people, Americans. Man, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I couldn't do that. It was the foreigners who was like, "Oh yeah, that's how you do it." It was the other business owners around me who was like, "Oh yeah, that's how you do it right there. That's the way to make it work." Plus, they don't have to dress up every day for total strangers. Nope. And please, folks, who may be here just listening and reading comments and don't get the big picture. We are not devil worshippers or Satanists or evil in our hearts. Just not bamboozled by religion and religious practices. No, we're not. Yeah. If that was, in all honesty, me and Angelina were considering going to either live with her parents or my brother, and doing that for a year to make it easier to buy an RV next year. But we were considering that, like, getting out of this house and go do that. And it's still up for consideration. Actually, talked to my brother about it this morning to let him know that that's a consideration that you need to be knowledgeable of, because I don't want to hear no shit from you when I tell you that that's what I'm doing. That's what we about to do. But it's something that's up for consideration, not because we would have to, just because it will make it easier. But most people aren't willing to do things like that. Is there anyone who have prayed and got what they prayed for? I admire the falcon, how it calculates its attacks on its prey. And 99% of it catches its prey. Yep. Now I'll do that. I'll pray, P-R-E-Y, on a target. And, I don't go to harm anybody, but I'll pray on a target. Oh, I love Lucifer. The television show Lucifer. Oh, great show. Love that show. But Lucifer in the Greek just means to illuminate. That's it. To illuminate. The one that brings illumination. I think the serpent is the good guy in the story. But I don't think the serpent is the good guy in the story. Mm-hmm. Now, when I was Christian and I would pray for things, I got it because I got off my ass and went and made it happen. It really didn't. And later on, I come to the realization it ain't got shit to do with prayer, because I got other shit without prayer, because I got off my ass. So the common denominator was me deciding that that's what it's going to be. And so let me go get it. It's just like when I moved from Tampa to Atlanta. The second time. Was the second time that it happened? Yeah, the second time. The second time I moved back here. And I didn't have a job up here. I had about $8,000. So I put my house up for rent in Florida. Came up to Atlanta. Well, I put the house up for rent. Came up to Atlanta. Found the house. Gave them the down payment, which was like $5,000. So now I only got $3,000. Went on a couple of jobs. Set up a couple of job interviews. Went on the interview. Went back. Moved up. Packed everything up. Moved to Atlanta. Moved into the house. Had $3,000 to my name, but I was interviewing like a champ. And within like 2 weeks, I got a job. There was no prayer at all. It was all, this is what's going to happen. Moving to Atlanta, I'm going to get a job, and it's going to happen because I said so. And then it wasn't like this, oh, and let me throw this in there, because many people say, well, you was blessed, you was blessed. And about 2 months later, I wound up getting a check for $16,000 because the company that I was working for filed bankruptcy, and they owed me, I got a check for $8,000 because the company I was working for owed me $16,000, and out of their bankruptcy filing, I got $8,000. I got a couple months. No, I'm saying that so wrong. That was a situation, but it was 2 years later a year later before I got the $8,000 check. But 2 months after getting that job is where I was for. 2 months after getting that job, one of my friends told me about another company, told me about what Boeing was doing as far as the contract, and I applied for that one. And then I got a job that paid me twice as much with Boeing. So it had nothing to do with prayers. It had something to do with people that I know and the fact that I decided what was going to be. Right, all your will. And that's what happens. And so I'm gonna go back to the subject matter. Watch this. That is the difference between a theocracy and a secular nation. The people know that it is up to them to get it done. One of the reasons why Marcus Aurelius had one of the greatest reigns in the Roman Empire, because he believed in the Stoic philosophy of "it's up to me." That everybody should have a mentality, it's up to me. So Stoicism was promoted during his reign. One of the things about the Tao is that it's up to you. A great ruler puts in place systems that makes the people feel like they accomplished the task and not the leader. So he put the onus on people getting shit done. Because it's up to the people to have that mindset that if they want anything, the people have to accomplish it. Not some deity, not some God, not even some energy outside of yourself. Your ass got to get it done. Even when you look at the people who deal with ancestry, there is no difference between a person saying that I'm going to pray that my ancestors, do this or do that. No, you do it. You still got to do it. Now, the only thing for me about ancestors, I might say sometimes, now, how would my grandfather, how would Eddie J. Ross handle this? How would my Uncle Dennon handle this? And even go outside of my family and think like, if there's a business person that I respect, how would that person do this? Or, there was some times when I was in, being in leadership, I'm like, how would General Krulak handle this situation? Or how would General Monday or General Mines, how would they handle this situation? That's about as far back on ancestry or something that I would go. Is I would contemplate how is a person that I admire and I've seen them handle a similar situation. How would they handle it? And pull from that knowledge, which is still pulling from myself. Stoicism is your love language. Have you read the Emperor's Handbook, Nikki? You would like that. It's a bunch of sayings from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "I will pray for you" is a catchy phrase. The majority don't actually pray for you. They don't. They just like to say it. But I would certainly tell them not to. I'm good without it. Right. God was a way for weak men to control a weak mind. I wouldn't necessarily call them weak men. I would say that they were smart and strong, because they figured they knew a system that would control people so they can continue to get what they want. It's manipulative. And if a man who has to use manipulation is considered weak, then I would agree with you on that point. Oh, you just talking about you being an asshole. Usually when if I'm talking to somebody and they say, "I'm gonna pray for you," then I tell them, I'm gonna do some magic spells for you too. I'm gonna draw a circle, I'm gonna do a sigil for you too, that you would come out of this religion. I'm gonna burn some sage to cleanse your energy so that you can and direct that energy towards you. And then they'd be like, "I rebuke you." I'm like, "Well, I'm rebuking you. What's the difference?" I might do that one day too. I might just tell them, "Hail Satan, administrator of the earth." And religion, I do agree, religion is for people who lack the accountability. I find that when I get a Christian back in the corner, "I'll pray for you," or "You need Jesus," it's a way to get out of the addressing the point. Oftentimes it does. They want to escape from the situation and don't have anything to say. Know that they can't counteract your argument. Then they have to either insult you or go with there with Jesus. Pray. Well, I'm gonna pray for you, and you need Jesus. I remember telling one guy, I said, "You need a mind." I'm like, "Don't you know how to think for yourself? Don't you think for yourself when you go to work? Don't you think for yourself when you're budgeting out your money? Don't you think for yourself when you're going to order food at a restaurant? Don't you think for yourself in most other aspects of your life? But yet, in this one, you don't think?" Mm-hmm. Now, I did tell that to a Christian too, that we're both practicing magic. Is that my magic works because my magic is engineered to cause the thoughts in my mind to put me into action, whereas your magic is just casting shit out and hoping the wind blows the right way. You're hoping that somebody else's causation will give you the effect that you desire. Hell, it's an hour and 30, 40 minutes in. We can be off topic. We already been off topic. Y'all don't know how to stay on. Y'all don't know how to stay on the topic. There's a show on Netflix called Bones. Great show, about 8 episodes. So I'm guessing it's not the medical show that was called Bones. you've seen Breaking Bad. I've actually never seen not one episode of Breaking Bad. I try to minimize series. I watch a movie because 2 hours, we done. Series, unless it's Marvel or a few other things. I have got caught up into this stupid ass animated one called Chronopolis. Chronopolis is funny. Actually, Chronopolis is really good because you have this guy, he's a mortal king who was born from a goddess, and yet he's effectively creating civilization and is trying to move the people away from God, from the gods. And his brother, who is also like a little demigod fish thing, he had an episode a couple episodes ago. He was like, I'm gonna convince these people to not believe in his mother goddess, but to believe in science. And people started believing in science because he brought irrigation to them. That's why I won't watch Breaking Bad, because I'm not trying to just be in my seat. I got shit to do, books to read, workouts to do, places to go. Blood and Zeus, great anime. Bones, them dry bones. Y'all are them dry bones. A 10-year-old calls himself Walter White. Okay, I don't know who that is. I guess that's somebody in one of those shows. Yeah. I haven't prayed. When did I? So I haven't prayed since I was about 25, 24. Might have been one of the last times. Somewhere around in there. Even when, yeah, because even when I no, so let's see. When Sydney drowned, I didn't pray then. People wanted to pray, but I was like, I'm not praying. My daughter's gonna be fine. When she had her drowning incident, and right before that, Simone was born, and she was premature. I didn't pray then. She's 24, so it's been at least 24 years. Hell, I can't remember last. I know it hasn't been within the last 24, 25 years. Right. Nikki says she don't pray, she summons and get instant results. I demand shit. I say what things are going to be. I do my best to make sure that I don't use the terms want, hopefully, maybe. Nope. Because when you demand shit, your mind, the frequency in your mind changes, and you get off your ass and go do what's necessary to make it happen, and you reverse engineer it. Once before, y'all can't see it now, but people used to ask me what there's stuff on my wall. Post-it notes. Those post-it notes are me demanding shit. You can call it a plan, whatever you want to call it, but it's me demanding shit. Imagine being taken in 2023 and find a body that was found in 1940, that was found in 1941 in the same exact location and position, and you find a report of that same body being found in 1890, same spot, same position. That'd be weird. How would you you find the body and just leave? They just left it there in 1890, then left it again in 41. Vision boards are okay. I stopped doing vision boards when I was about 27. because I started thinking about, well, one, I had written a book called How to Escape Mental Welfare. You can find that on coachrenz.com in a digital format, coachrenz.com, How to Escape Mental Welfare. And I remember I reread it a few times back then. And I was like, hold on, I'm not doing a vision board anymore. I need a plan of attack. Because in the book, I talk about you create a plan. You have your vision board or your 10 goals. You find you pick out, let's say, so out of your 10 goals, you got the 80-20 rule. 1, 2, or 3 of those goals will make the rest of those goals easier to happen if they happen. So you figure out which 1, 2, 3 of those goals is most likely. If you achieve it, the rest of them will happen easier. And then you reverse engineer those goals. What would it take in order for this goal to happen? And I start listing down all the shit that needs to happen in order that could happen in order to make that one goal happen. Of course, as you go through things, you start, and as things are happening, you may change it, but you reverse engineer it. And then after you reverse engineering, you start working on that plan. Now you have an action plan, and that action plan gets that shit done. And then when that's done, the other ones becomes easier to accomplish. Oh, that's from Bones. So go watch it and be intrigued. No, Brian, that is intriguing, but no. I demanded money and someone left $100 in my Cash App. After I did a live on tarot, another 70 and another 30 from winning a contest yesterday because the entities I work with, I remain loyal. Can I get about 10 grand? Let me get about 10 right now. Nikki, go do whatever you need to do and hit me with 10. Hit me with 10 right now. Hit me with 10 right. I can use a good 10 right now. Yeah, hit me with 10. Yeah. I don't want to say what the young lady does for a living, but it was some little girl was making a deposit in the bank today, and she had all this cash. And I'm nosy as shit. I'm nosy, so I'm looking at the bands, and I'm like, okay, that's a band of 50s. That's a band of 50s. That's a band of 20s. That's a band of 20s. That's a band of hundreds. So I'm looking. I'm like, shit. She probably about 15. About 15. She putting it out. I want to be like, look, girl, what you do for a living? Now I know I've been to Navy Federal. You go to Navy Federal, there's certain ones on a Monday morning, and I know all the stripper girls show up there and they be having these just fucking backpacks full of money. It's a good thing I ain't a woman. Good thing I ain't a woman, because I know what to do with that money. Some of them, a lot of them little girls don't know what to do with that money. I'm working with someone for the 1111 portal. Will add your name to my sweet jar. Hey, go ahead. I have no problems with that. See, some have a problem with that. Praying for me, I got a problem with that. I have an idea, a thought process on what you're doing. I ain't got no problems with that. Send me all the good energy. Matter of fact, I want all y'all to send the good energy that this social media page, especially on Facebook, that it just skyrockets immediately. I need all y'all good energy for that. Skyrocket immediately. All right. In views, in participation, all that. Because that will be long-term continuation of being able to have what I want to have what I have what I desire. That's good that you don't have to work. Good. Got to make them BBL payments. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't know what you look like, but don't do that. All I know is you say you were skinny, but don't do that. Oh. You walk around Atlanta, you see so many bad BBLs. Oh, you look like Cat Williams, so you sound like, hey man, if you can, you should. Pretty good at helping people get what they want. You live pretty modest. Yep. Because I need this channel to blow up, so to make it easier to get this RV on time, and then this podcast will be a traveling podcast along with the cooking and sipping and smoking podcast, and especially to go to some of these sites, these historical sites. Oh, you talking about the stripper? Gotcha. Yep. All right, Ron, go to sleep, man. Have some good dreams. Just with a candle up on the side. Oh, you don't like to play the front? Yeah. I need these pages, Facebook especially. I need the page itself to be viral as hell. That's what I don't need it. That's what's gonna be. That's what it is. That's what we got. The page is viral. The damn comments just coming in so fast I can't even keep up. Every video, millions of views. That's what it is. But I do think that way. Like every time, especially now, every time I post a video, I'm like, oh, that one going viral. That one gonna go viral. That one gonna go viral. And my numbers have been up. And it's because my mindset is that I used to be like, oh man, I hope this one go viral. Oh, I hope this one. Oh, I hope this one. Oh, I hope. And all that hope gets you nowhere. That's that religious bullshit. That's that religious bullshit. Give me some energy shit. You gotta have some energy stuff going on. To if you want to push shit beyond what normal expectations are, what the norm is. That energy got to be like, no, this shit, this is what it's going. This is what it is, and it can't be. It's not anything other than this. This is what it is. Like when I was talking to my brother this morning, we were talking about the RV that I'm gonna get. Man, shit, you gonna pay how much? And you might need to get a small one. No, hell no. You're gonna be living in this thing. It gotta be a big one. Oh no, yeah, I don't want everybody's energy. If your energy ain't truly pure in support of what I'm saying, you keep that shit to yourself. If you have any doubt, keep it to yourself. If you have anything negative, keep it to yourself. I don't want your negative shit. Right? Yeah, these women were looking, and especially I saw this woman on TikTok, and she had this some woman face look all jacked up, chest look jacked up, hips and butt all jacked up, all this fake stuff, and she up there dancing and stuff, and I'm like, the people, I'm sure she know that the majority of people was laughing at her ass. Like, she can't think that people are like, ooh, she's so sexy. But they do it. It's beyond my understanding. Mm-mm. I'm good with what you got. You need all that extra. All that extra bullshit. Trying to look like Jessica Rabbit. Jessica Rabbit she's a cartoon. And let her be her. Y'all said bunch of questionable looking characters. Yep. What's today? The 9th? Okay. All right. Let's fact check something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, here's the difference, Reginald, between a person like the majority of us, because I don't know who's all on here, and a religious person. A religious person would say, I'm going to speak an RV into existence. But then all they'll do is go pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. They won't actually have a plan to achieve it because they're being taught that all they should do is just pray and let God deliver it. And God is going to open up the opportunities, and God is going to do this, and God is going to do that. Okay, so the RV world has standards, all right? Your credit score has to be over 700. You have to be able to put 3% down. So let's say you're getting a $400,000 RV. 3%. What's 3% of that? Oh, my mind just blanked out for a second. Normally, that kind of math would be very easy for me. 3 times 4 is 12. So that's not 120,000. It's not 12,000 either, is it? Yeah, so you got to put 3% down. Why I keep putting calculator? That right. Right. So it's $12,000, right? That can't be right. That can't be right. Am I doing this? No, I gotta be doing this math wrong. Because my mind was thinking something else this whole time since we decided we was gonna do this. So did I do the math wrong the first time in my mind? But you gotta, you it's 3% down at minimum. Credit score gotta be a certain credit score. Debt to income ratio gotta be a certain level. So then it's never gonna happen unless you get yourself in position to be able to do it. What the hell are y'all talking about? Leave that part alone. You're doing it for other women. Oh, you blow. What? What's 3% of $400,000? Somebody else do the math because my math got to be wrong. I need somebody else to do the math because I'm thinking my math is wrong. They look like it hurts, and I love that for them because they're dumb catchers. I believe when he delivers a pizza because I'm hungry. I just he's the natural way to get food, but they lazy. This is true. Overhyped, overpriced, glory. y'all out there. I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I need somebody else to do this math because my math has to be wrong. 3% of 400,000 is how much? Because my math got to be wrong. I mean, I want my previous math to be the wrong one and the math I just did to be the right one because it changes a lot. 3% of 400,000. Now that's what I was thinking from in my first math, but that can't be. That can't be right. That sounds like 30%. $120,000 would be 30%. That's not 3%. Right. Kelly said 12,000. Because the math should be 400,000 times 0.03. And I think the first time I did it 0.3, which is actually 30%. Shit. I'm not going to live with my brother. Not going to live with my brother. The only reason we would go to North Carolina and stay with Angelina's parents is to get them squared away because they're older and just to have a beach. But the monetary reason is not the reason we would go do it. Oh shit! I done told Angelina that we got to save. We got to make sure we have about $30,000 to $60,000 saved up by this time next year. I done straight lied. I had my calculation wrong. Oh hell! See, y'all just made me happier today because I didn't want to believe that this math was right. Okay, appreciate it. You know how like you know something is right, but you want to do it? Because Angelina, he did say 3% down, right? Am I wrong about that? Did he say 30%? But I could have sworn he said 3%. That's what they were saying. It was 3%. I know now. I know I went way off the damn subject, but my mind has been thrown off by this now. I'm gonna get back to it. Let me get back because you know I'm gonna call that dude up and be like, "Hey man, you got a question? I might have been misheard you. What percentage?" Y'all are talking about these BBLs. How do y'all switch? Nikki, see what you started? Oh my gosh. Y'all killing me. If anybody came to this video because they want to talk about circular countries versus non-circular countries, by now they're like, okay, they talking about all kind of shit on this thing. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced that everybody on this channel got ADHD. Right, 30% is, yeah, it can't be 30%. No, it can't be. Don't know that number. So they get educated on butts too? Yes, they will. I don't know. See, so I'm gonna go ahead and entertain y'all bullshit. I've dated a woman who had fake chest. She had that done, but it wasn't. She had a good job done. It was a good one that was done. Yeah, I'm gonna re-ask him. It was a good job, so you couldn't even. At first, I couldn't even tell. Like, and in clothes, you couldn't tell, and even without clothes, the only reason I knew because I saw the scar. You know, a little bit of a scar. Um, I'm cool with that. And it was proportionate. Um, I ain't seen a woman with a butt job done and it was a good job and it was proportionate. Usually they look horrible, but I ain't seen one with a good job where it fits the body. You know what I'm saying? It's been like every time I see one with the fake one, it's like, ooh. Now maybe there's been some fake ones that I saw, but they had a good job done. But I've just never dated anybody who had a fake one done. ADHD ain't no dad at home disorder. I think them jokers in the Bible, I don't think they had ADHD. I think they had schizophrenia. And that's no knock on somebody who really has schizophrenia. I think that they had, because they hearing voices in their head and seeing people show up. They had all kind of stuff going on with them. Sam Joe wasn't visions. Or according to that pastor that I posted a video on yesterday, they time travel. Mm-hmm. Moses seemed like he was a person who was schizophrenic. He going up the mountain, stand up there for 40 days, talking, having, seeing visions, and then coming telling people, the Lord told me, and the Lord told me, you hearing shit in your head. You just hearing yourself, or he was just a control freak. I was supposed to be the prince of Egypt. I took it from me, so I'm going back. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna get my own people. Mm-hmm. They had them good shrooms. That's not even a shroom. He must have been taking them a lot. Maybe that's what he was doing. He was up there for 40 days doing an ayahuasca trip. He was doing an extended ayahuasca trip. Because there ain't no way you finna go up in some mountain for 40 days and then come back and tell me no bullshit like that. Kind of like that pastor, he told me he time traveling. He was like, even my wife don't even believe me. I know she says it, but she don't really believe me. Well, that should tell you something. When your wife don't believe you, that your shit is so made up that even your person who knows you better than most people don't believe you. You ever see that movie Blast from the Past with Stillstone? Hey, look, a lot of people thought that movie was corny as shit, but I love that movie. Blast from the Past was great. Moses was the dude whose parents owned the cafe, that was built on top of the bomb shelter and had created a whole religion. I love that movie, Blast from the Past. But that's how people are. Somebody coming out of that hole, he got the little suit on and everything. He thought oh, it's some mystic being from under the earth that's came here and we got to worship and praise it and, protect the elevator. It was, and created a whole cult based on it. And he was the son. And then when his dad came up, the father, and then the mother, so they had the whole Trinity thing in that. But they started believing it. And they thought it was the second coming or something. But that's how people are. And what's funny about that scene, that aspect of that movie, the other people started believing before they ever saw anything. Because if you can tell a good story to the right people, people will start to follow you. I know there was a dude in Canada who calls himself Moses, started a cult. Mm-hmm. Hey, I was tempted to start not a religious, a spiritual center. And I've been telling people, look, we starting this thing so we can get some tax-free benefits. Everybody in here, we're gonna work these taxes, and we're gonna show you how to do business. It's a money cult. Start a money cult. We make some money, be tax-free. We'll create some rituals and a deity that we worship, at least that we claim, and then we're gonna run with it for that money. The only problem is if it survives beyond me, people gonna believe it like it's real. And then it get turned into some bullshit. The guy from Bombay, India, who went to Oregon and started a whole cult community. Oh, that is a very big thing. If you from India, the Eastern countries, you can come to America and you can get these fools believing in some stuff. Like, oh, he's a guru. He's a guru. Like, we're gonna smoke cigars in our cult. That's what creating. This is the mental this is our process of understanding transmutation, so that we can understand mental transmutation by speeding up the molecules of the tobacco using heat. The tobacco transmute itself from one form to another, which is how we must transmute our thoughts and our energy from one form to another, by applying it to heat. This is our system of alchemy. Even that's a true thing. That is a way of teaching alchemy, but we venerate the cigar. The cigar is holy. The cigar and the torch, the holy union of two, the vibration and the pole. I'm just saying. It's valid. Scientifically, it works. Esoterically, it works. And I've literally explained transmutation to people and alchemy to people at the cigar lounge by utilizing a cigar, because it was something that they were familiar with. Yes, we are the children of the leaf. We are living the leaf life as children of the leaf. Oh, the weed is the same way. The weed is the brother. The cigar and the weed are brothers. One is of the leaf. The other is of what is weed? It's not a leaf. It's a bud. One is the leaf. The other is the bud. They're buddies. They're cousins, both coming from the nurture, from Gaia, from the earth, growing with its medicinal, with its healing powers, its mental transmutations. I'm saying, Mother Gia, providing the leaf and providing the bud, transmuting into the holy smoke. Everybody light up. Let the holy smoke flow. And as the holy smoke flows in the room, as we are creating the smoke, we are also sharing in the smoke. As the smoke of the weed, of the bud, and the smoke of the leaf become one that cannot be separated, but we're constantly re-inhaling the holy smoke and making it a part of us as one in unity of the smoke, the church of the smoke. Oh, ain't y'all happy that I'm not one of those people? Inhale your intentions. Exhale the completion. We're taking, and whether you have your bourbon or your coffee, it is the state of liquid, the state of solid, and the state of gas, all working and combining together. The state of liquid enhances the state of the solid and culminates in the state of gas, the transmutation. Puff, puff, smoke, smoke. Oh, it's a flower? Okay. Why do y'all entertain my bullshit? Let me tell you, y'all cannot entertain my bullshit. Because even though it is bullshit, it is actually a hella truth to it as well. It's hella truth to how mental transmutation actually works, right? It is a modern simplistic way of explaining the Kabbalion and the Hermetic laws of alchemy. So even though I'm making it a joke, it's actually true in how we function as individuals and as a group. You know, how we can come in unity together in our solid body that is also filled with liquids that transmute into our energetic thoughts in the spiritual. Okay, go ahead and add me to the group. I'll check it out. And that doesn't mean everybody start adding me to every group. Ask first, please. Can't you transmute sexual energy? Yes, actually, you know, my most popular video still on YouTube is two videos. One talks about they both similarly are talking about the same thing, but they're talking about using sex energy, transmutation of sex energy, and sex magic. But yeah, in Tantra, there's a thought process of drawing up your sexual energy, especially at the moment of orgasm, and bringing that up to your throat chakra and releasing out your intentions. And thereby you're transmuting your sexual energy into your mental and verbal energies. And when you have a couple who are working within the understanding of Tantra, doing that couple will manifest more things than other people. I've heard it being called quantum engagement. Okay. I add you to the friends. Did you say she coming? When you get down there and you do some licky, yeah. If you know what you're doing, if you got some good tongue work, then yes, Brian. If you got some good tongue work. But actually in Tantra, there is the idea of transmuting the woman's sexual energy from her orgasm, if she focuses on pushing it out, into your throat chakra, which goes into your body. As well, same thing as when you release, you can push your energy into the woman. Christians will call that soul ties, but yes, that's a part of Tantra as well. Sound like we need to do a live about Tantra. I actually love talking about Tantra and sex. You know, the first time I ever seen that is actually a Christian couple. They used to be getting it, and they was thanking Jesus, thanking the Lord, and they started saying, thank you, at the points of orgasms and all that stuff. They're like, thank you, Jesus, for the house. Thank you, Jesus, for the job. Thank you, Jesus, for the this and that. Whether they realize it or not, they were using sexual energy. They were doing sexual transmutation, sex magic, in order to manifest those things. And they got everything that they said but they were practicing sexual sex magic. But because they was invoking their deity, it was working. It was really themselves, because they still had to do the work, but their mental energy was more focused on getting those things done. And yep, you can do it by yourself. Is that why hookers say no kissing on the mouth? That's part of the reason, but it's also kissing is very intimate and very personal. You have so the nerve endings in your lips send intimate connections and energy to your brain. So kissing, that's one reason it creates those connections of intimacy. Yeah, no, I ain't licking nothing, bro. You one of them? Shit. I ain't even gonna try to be bashful about it. I'm a champion. I got belts. I got trophies. I got trophies for the licky licky. I said this, and you confirm this every time they say, thank you, Jesus, they're using sex magic. Yeah. When they was getting it, and you're doing that, oh yeah. Say kudos to you, bro. Dang. Bro. Trauma, let me tell you something. When you can master the tongue action, and then if you can tongue in and some hand action at the same time, and keep her just going, and then at the right moment of all of that, then penetrate, you can send her into some wild dreams, man, into levels of ecstasy that she may or may not have ever experienced before, but the damn sure gonna be intense as hell. And that's the thing. I was told at a very young age that the best intimacy you can have with a woman is if the man is focusing on pleasing her and she is focusing on pleasing him. That when you don't focus on your own pleasure and focus on the other person's, and y'all are doing that, you can have some of the best sexual experiences you've ever had. So it's always been my mindset: focus on her. Just please her. I'm gonna get mine, and you're a dude. Dudes, we can get out like that. This is no problem. But focus on her, and when you can tongue action, and then go immediate into the ping action, because most women, it's studies say that most women do not have orgasms through penetration. But if you got her all revved up and she not had a few of them from the tongue action, and then you penetrate, and she get that next level deep one. Yeah, boy, I'm dead. I'm just saying, okay, it's good that yours do, but if you add that to it, the one that she getting now won't be comparable. It won't be comparable. I'm talking, get her to some leg shaking, body convulsions, trying to run, trying to beat you off of her because it's just too intense. You got to go for that. Trauma, you got to go for. See, you over there climbing Mount McKinley, which is good. You might even be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which is good. But we got to climb Everest, my guy. We got to climb Everest. Gotta get to the highest mountain peak. Don't settle for the Alps. Take her to Everest. Oh man. Nah, I'm telling you, she at Kilimanjaro. See, for you, see your mind, she at Kilimanjaro. But there's an Everest. There's an Everest, trauma, that she don't know about. You gotta take her to Everest. All y'all going to hell. Just want y'all to know that. All y'all going to hell. Y'all got problems. Every last one of y'all. But we are about to end this stream today because I don't know why. This is 2 days. I didn't do the live yesterday because I was at the VA. I went to the wrong goddamn place. Then I had to go to the other VA, and then I had to go all the way out to Covington. So now today I got to run another errand. I had one this morning. I got to run another errand, and y'all know me. I got to get it done before traffic, and then I need to be able to shoot these other videos before Angelina gets home. Starting out working out today. 6 months from now, fat boy gonna be gone. They don't do the kissing because you're exchanging fluid, and that's disease like hepatitis A, B, C, and herpes. Yep. I'm sure that's another reason. But we're going to end today. We didn't get as deep into the subject matter as I wanted to, but we got deep enough to understand that God has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not a country is great or not, whether or not a country is filled with degenerates or not. It's all based on the policies of the people who put them in place, and the people, what the people is willing to tolerate. You know, the reason why we have issues in any country is because of what the people are willing to tolerate. The people realize that their true power is that they control the government, they control their society, their existence, not some deity. Then the people can have a great society. But until people do that, they will still be controlled by whether religion or some totalitarian state of government. But so God ain't got nothing to do with the success or failure of any country whatsoever. And with that, and everything else that y'all not talk about, I appreciate you. And see, Brian, see what you're trying to do. And we're gonna be here tomorrow. Let me read this. Last one I'm reading. Some men have the wrong info when it comes to pleasing a woman. They're not all the same. Exactly. They are not all the same. You got to pay attention to what that woman's body is doing and her responses. Not to the word, but I don't give a shit about her words. The body tells you everything. You got to learn your woman. Got to study her movements and how she responds to different forms of stimulation. If you really could, just talking and singing a song a certain way can get her juices flowing. Learn those triggers and understand her sense and how. Exactly. Yeah. So I gotta go. But that's right. So yeah, we're gonna have to have one on tantrum. I see that. We're gonna have to do everyone on tantrum and sex. All right. So Grand Rising Norman Anderson 727 Gourmet Tasty. Goddamn, long, Tasty Puffs. Long ass name, but Grand Rising. I appreciate you too for being here. Yep, Kama Sutra. That's the positions. So anyway, y'all have a great day. Remember always you gotta free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good driving. Good driving. I'm about to drive. Good journey. Good vibrations. I see y'all tomorrow. I don't mind.